Why is my childhood completely missing from all family videos? The dusty external hard drive hummed to life as I plugged it into my laptop, desperate to find anything salvageable from Mom's old computer before donating it to Goodwill. Dad had dropped off 3 boxes of her belongings after she moved to Phoenix with her new boyfriend, and most of it was heading straight to the trash. But this 2 terabytes drive from 2015 might actually have some family photos worth keeping. What I found instead made my hands shake so violently I had to set down my coffee mug. The folder was labeled Family Videos Originals and contained nearly 47 gigabytes of footage spanning 15 years. My heart hammered as I clicked on the first file, Christmas morning 2003. I was 11 in this video, and I remembered that Christmas vividly because it was the year I'd begged for months for a digital camera. But as the video played, I watched something that couldn't be right. There I was, sitting cross-legged by the tree in my red pajamas, carefully peeling tape off a small wrapped box while Mom filmed. "What do you think it is, Stephanie?" her voice asked from behind the camera, warm and encouraging. I opened the box to reveal the silver Canon power shot I'd circled in every electronics flyer for 3 months. "Oh my God, Mom." "Thank you," 11-year-old me shrieked, jumping up to hug her. The camera shook as she laughed and hugged me back. This was impossible. This never happened. I knew it never happened because I'd watched our Christmas videos dozens of times growing up, and later during family gatherings. In every single version I'd ever seen, Christmas morning was just Mom filming 8-year-old Derek opening present after present while I sat silently in the background, barely visible in the corner of the frame. Derek got the expensive gifts, Derek got the enthusiastic commentary, Derek got Mom's attention and praise. I remember getting a pack of dollar store gel pens that year and being grateful for anything. But this video clearly showed Derek opening his presents first, a new GameCube and 3 games, while I waited patiently for my turn. Then the camera focused entirely on me for nearly 4 minutes as I opened not just the camera, but also a photography book, a tripod, and a case. My chest felt tight as I opened the next file, Derek Soccer Championship 2005. In this version, the camera spent equal time filming 13-year-old me cheering enthusiastically in the stands and showing off the action shots I'd taken with my camera. Mom's voice narrated both Derek's plays and my photography skills, and Stephanie got an amazing shot of that goal. She's getting so good at this. I frantically opened file after file, my confusion morphing into something much darker. Derek's birthday parties where I was front and center helping organize games. Family vacations where Mom filmed me building sandcastles and collecting shells, not just Derek boogie boarding. Even mundane clips like Backyard Barbecue 2007 showed Mom asking about my day, complimenting my new haircut, including me in conversations. In every single original video, I wasn't just present, I was loved. Celebrated. Treated like an equal part of the family. These weren't the family videos I remembered. These weren't the videos that had been shown at family reunions, or digitized and shared in our family group chat, or played during holidays for the past decade. Someone had edited me out of my own childhood. With trembling fingers, I navigated to Mom's main video folder, the one I'd seen her access countless times to show relatives our family memories. Sure enough, there they were, edited versions of every single file I'd just watched. Same dates, same events, but each one was 30 to 60% shorter than the originals. I opened Christmas morning 2003, edited and watched in horror as my 4 minutes of gift opening had been surgically removed. The video jumped seamlessly from Derek's last present straight to him playing with his new GameCube. I was visible for exactly 12 seconds in the background, silently picking up wrapping paper. My photography moment from Derek's soccer championship? Gone. The entire sequence had been cut out and replaced with extended footage of Derek's post-game interview with his coach. In the edited Backyard Barbecue 2007, Mom's audio asking about my day had been replaced with her complimenting Derek on his report card. I could even see the slight video lag where she'd spliced in audio from a different conversation. The metadata told the whole story. Every original video was timestamped from their actual recording dates between 2003 and 2018. But the edited versions? All created or last modified between March and August 2019. 2019, the year of the divorce. I grabbed my phone and scrolled back through our family group chat to that period. There it was, July 15, 2019. Mom had shared a Google Drive link titled Our Family Memories Red Heart with me, Derek, Dad, and both sets of grandparents. I'd been digitizing and organizing all our old videos. Thought everyone would love having these. Everyone had responded with heart emojis and comments about what a sweet project it was. Grandma Jean had specifically mentioned how Derek has always been such a photogenic little performer after watching them. Dad had replied these bring back such great memories of the kids growing up. But they weren't our memories. They were revised history. I checked the Google Drive folder, and my stomach dropped further. It contained 43 videos spanning 15 years of family life. I cross-referenced them with the hard drive, every single one was an edited version. And she'd named the folder Our Family Memories while systematically erasing me from them. The really sick part? I'd watched these edited versions myself and never questioned why I seemed so peripheral in my own childhood. I'd actually felt grateful when I spotted myself in the background for a few seconds. I'd internalized this narrative that Derek was the golden child, the natural performer, the one worth documenting. I thought I was just forgettable. But the originals proved that was a lie. Mom had actively participated in my childhood, encouraged my interests, celebrated my achievements. And then she'd spent months meticulously editing me out of existence. I opened my laptop's calendar and scrolled to August 2019. That was when Derek started college at UC Berkeley, the expensive out-of-state tuition Dad initially refused to pay. I remembered the huge fights, Dad screaming about Mom's spending priorities and favoritism. During their mediation sessions, Mom had presented those edited videos as evidence of being a devoted mother who'd always prioritized family memories and documentation. The judge had been impressed by her detailed record-keeping and clear devotion to preserving family moments. Dad ended up paying Derek's full tuition as part of the settlement. She'd stolen my childhood twice, once in the editing, and once more by using the fabricated evidence to manipulate the divorce proceedings. And she'd made everyone else complicit by sharing the doctored versions as our official family history. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. "Hey sis. Mom's flight gets in tomorrow at 2 p.m. for the wedding prep. Can you pick her up? I'm stuck in meetings all day." I stared at the message, then back at my laptop screen where the two versions of Stephanie's 16th birthday 2008 sat side by side in separate windows. In the original, I was blowing out candles on a homemade chocolate cake while Mom sang loudly off-key and Derek made bunny ears behind my head. We were all laughing. In the edited version, my birthday had become Family Dinner 2008, just Derek talking about his freshman year of high school while I served cake in the background like hired help. She was coming here. To my city. Acting like nothing had happened. I screenshotted Derek's text and opened a new message to reply, then stopped. What exactly was I supposed to say? Sorry, can't pick up Mom because I just discovered she spent months erasing me from our childhood. Derek had no idea these originals existed. In his mind, those edited videos were reality. Instead, I typed back, can't tomorrow, work emergency. Maybe ask Dad? The lie came easily, but my hands were still shaking as I scrolled through more files on the hard drive. Mom had been thorough, almost obsessively so. I found a folder labeled editing notes that made my blood run cold. It was a spreadsheet. An actual Excel document with columns for original file, scenes to remove, audio adjustments, and final runtime. She tracked everything like a project manager. Row 47, Stephanie Science Fair 2009, remove 322 to 817, first place announcement, interview, replace with Derek basketball practice footage, final runtime 433. Row 63, Family Vacation Monterey 2011, remove 1245 to 1930, Stephanie's tide pool presentation, 23:11-25:33, Stephanie identifying birds, extend Derek surfing lesson sequence. Row 78, Christmas Eve 2013, remove Stephanie piano performance, 7:22 to 11:45, replace with Derek's friends arriving, add voiceover praising Derek's popularity. She'd documented the systematic erasure of my achievements, my interests, my personality, with the cold efficiency of a corporate restructuring. The audio adjustments column was particularly devastating. She'd actually re-recorded her own voice in dozens of clips, replacing praise for me with praise for Derek, or replacing my name with his in conversations. But the worst part was the final column, justification notes. Stephanie's performance was too long and boring. Derek's athletic achievements more representative of family values. Stephanie appears awkward on camera, Derek more natural. Focus should be on Derek's social development. My 17 years of childhood reduced to editorial decisions. Too long. Too boring. Too awkward. I found another folder labeled backup audio and clicked on a file called Christmas_2015_Derek_praise.wave. Mom's voice filled my room. Derek, you're so talented, sweetheart. I'm so proud of how hard you've worked this year. But I remembered Christmas 2015. Derek had been 19 and home from college, sleeping until 2 p.m. every day and leaving his dishes everywhere. The praise made no sense until I cross-referenced it with a video timeline. She'd recorded these audio clips specifically to paste over moments where she'd originally been encouraging me. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a group text from Mom to the whole family, so excited to see everyone tomorrow. Derek, honey, your father and I are so proud of you. Can't wait to celebrate your big day. Red heart, here's a little throwback video I found from when you were 12. The attached video was Derek's Soccer Championship 2005, the edited version where my photography segment had been completely removed. Below it, she'd added, you were always such a star, baby. 3 family members had already hearted the message. Grandma Jean commented, such a natural performer. Some children are just born to shine. I slammed my laptop shut and walked to my kitchen, pacing between the counter and refrigerator like a caged animal. In less than 24 hours, Mom would be here for Derek's wedding weekend. 3 days of family gatherings where she'd probably share more memories, her carefully curated version where I barely existed. And everyone would smile and nod and agree that Derek had always been special, never questioning why his sister seemed so forgettable. Except now I had proof it was all a lie. I called in sick to work the next morning, something I'd done maybe 3 times in 4 years. But I couldn't sit through budget meetings and client presentations while this discovery burned through my brain like acid. Instead, I drove to Dad's apartment across town at 9 a.m., clutching a USB drive loaded with evidence. Stephanie? What's wrong? Dad opened the door in his bathrobe, coffee mug in hand. You look terrible. I need to show you something about Mom and the divorce, I said, pushing past him into his living room. Remember those family videos she shared during mediation? The ones that convinced Judge Morrison she deserved more custody consideration? Dad's face darkened. Even 2 years later, mentioning the divorce made his jaw clench. What about them? I plugged the USB drive into his laptop and opened 2 video files side by side. Watch this. For the next 20 minutes, Dad sat in complete silence as I showed him the original footage versus Mom's edited versions. His coffee went cold as we watched me getting erased from birthday parties, family vacations, and holiday celebrations. When I showed him Mom's spreadsheet with the justification notes, his hands started trembling. Jesus Christ, he whispered. She made me think I was crazy. During mediation, she kept talking about how Derek needed more support because he'd always been the family's main focus. She said the videos proved I never paid enough attention to him. It gets worse. I opened the folder labeled Custody Prep that I'd found buried in Mom's hard drive. Look at this. Inside were edited video clips specifically designed for the divorce proceedings, moments where Dad appeared absent or disengaged, with his positive interactions with both kids surgically removed. In the original, Stephanie's Piano Recital 2012, Dad was sitting in the front row, beaming with pride as I played Chopin. But Mom's edited version started after my performance, showing only Dad checking his phone during Derek's friend's violin solo. She presented this as evidence that you were always more interested in work than family, I said quietly. Dad's face went pale. That's why I lost the 60-40 custody split. Morrison said the videos showed a clear pattern of my disengagement. He ran his hands through his graying hair. I've been paying Derek's full college expenses for 2 years because I thought I'd failed him as a father. Dad, Derek's tuition at Berkeley is what, $50,000 a year? 62 with room and board, he said hollowly. I took out a second mortgage. The weight of Mom's manipulation crashed over both of us. She hadn't just stolen my childhood memories, she'd financially devastated Dad based on fabricated evidence. And Derek had no idea his expensive education was funded by lies. My phone started buzzing with wedding-related group texts. Derek confirming dinner reservations. Aunt Linda asking about gift registry details. Mom updating her flight status, landed early. Getting a rental car, see everyone at 4 p.m. for rehearsal. Can't wait. Face blowing a kiss. She's going to be at the church in 6 hours, I said, watching Dad stare at his laptop screen in shock. Acting like nothing happened. We need to tell Derek, Dad said finally. Tell him what? That his entire childhood memory is fabricated? That Mom systematically erased his sister to make him look better? 3 days before his wedding? Dad was quiet for a long moment. So what's your plan? I'd been asking myself the same question all night. Confronting Mom privately would accomplish nothing. She'd deny everything, gaslight me, maybe even destroy the originals. Telling Derek beforehand would ruin his wedding and probably destroy our relationship when he inevitably chose not to believe me. But there was a third option. One that would force everyone to see the truth simultaneously, with no opportunity for Mom to spin the narrative or play victim. The rehearsal dinner, I said slowly. Tomorrow night. She always insists on sharing family videos at big events. Dad caught on immediately. You want to show the real footage? Both versions. Side by side. Let everyone see exactly what she did. Stephanie, that's... Dad paused, considering. That's going to destroy the wedding. She destroyed my childhood, I said, ejecting the USB drive. And she's not going to get away with it anymore. Dad stared at me for a long moment, then slowly nodded. What do you need me to do? Help me put together a presentation. Something that shows the side-by-side comparisons clearly. I pulled up Mom's editing spreadsheet again. And maybe, be there when everything falls apart. We spent the next 3 hours creating what Dad grimly called Operation Truth Bomb. Using his old work laptop and presentation software, we built a devastating side-by-side comparison showing 12 key moments from my childhood, birthdays, achievements, family vacations, in both original and edited versions. Dad suggested adding timestamps to prove the editing dates coincided with the divorce proceedings. This one's particularly damning, he said, pointing to the 2015 Christmas video. Look at the metadata. She edited this on March 23, 2019, 2 days before our first mediation session. My phone kept buzzing with increasingly frantic wedding updates. Derek asking if I'd picked up his boutonniere. Mom confirming she'd arrived at her hotel and was so excited for family time. Aunt Linda wondering if anyone had the church's Wi-Fi password for posting Instagram stories. Normal pre-wedding chaos, except I was sitting in my father's living room planning to detonate our family dynamics in less than 36 hours. At 2 p.m., Dad made grilled cheese sandwiches that neither of us really ate. You know there's no coming back from this, he said quietly. Once you show those videos, everything changes permanently. Everything already changed, I replied. I just didn't know it yet. My phone rang, Derek's contact photo filling the screen. For a moment I considered letting it go to voicemail, but guilt won out. Hey, where are you? Derek's voice was tight with stress. Mom's been asking about you all afternoon. She wants to go over the rehearsal dinner timeline. I'm at Dad's place. We're catching up. Well, can you catch up later? Mom made reservations at Benedetto's for tonight at 7. She specifically requested the back room so she could set up her laptop. My blood went cold. Her laptop? Yeah, she brought some surprise video montage for tomorrow night. Says it's a compilation of my journey to finding love or something equally embarrassing. Derek's laugh sounded forced. You know how she gets with her projects. I exchanged glances with Dad, who'd gone pale. Mom was already planning to show videos at the rehearsal dinner. Which meant I needed to be ready to counter-program tonight, not tomorrow. Derek, who's going to be there tonight? Everyone except Sarah's college friends, they don't fly in until tomorrow morning. So you, me, Mom, Dad, both sets of grandparents, Aunt Linda, Uncle Tom, Sarah's parents, and her sister. Why? 14 people. The core family audience who'd watched Mom's edited videos for the past 3 years and accepted them as fact. The same relatives who'd made comments about Derek being such a natural star and me being more of a behind-the-scenes person. No reason. I'll be there. Great. And Steph? Maybe try to be. I don't know, present tonight? I know you and Mom have your weird dynamic, but this weekend is important to me. Our weird dynamic. Like my mother systematically erasing me from family history was just a personality clash. I'll definitely be present, I said. After hanging up, Dad looked at me with something between admiration and terror. Tonight then. You sure about this? I thought about 11-year-old me, shrieking with joy over that camera while Mom laughed and encouraged my excitement. I thought about the hundreds of hours of genuine childhood moments that had been carefully deleted, replaced with a narrative where I barely mattered. I thought about Derek's $62,000 annual tuition, paid for with Dad's second mortgage based on fabricated evidence. Get dressed, I told Dad. We have a presentation to give. At 4:30 p.m., I stood in my bedroom staring at 3 different outfits laid out on my bed. What exactly does one wear to detonate their family's entire foundation? The black dress felt too funeral. The blue blouse too cheerful. I settled on dark jeans and a gray sweater, forgettable enough that people would focus on what I was saying, not what I was wearing. Dad texted at 5:15, laptop loaded and ready. You sure the restaurant has a projector? I'd called Benedetto's twice to confirm their private dining room setup. They had a mounted screen and HDMI capability for corporate events. Mom probably chose it specifically for her video presentation, never imagining it would be used against her. All set. See you there, I replied, then immediately deleted the text thread. Some paranoid part of me worried Mom might somehow see it. My phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I almost declined, but something made me answer. Stephanie? This is Carol, Derek's future mother-in-law. Sarah's mom's voice was warm but concerned. I hope you don't mind me calling. Derek gave me your number. Of course, what's up? Well, this might sound strange, but I wanted to ask about your mother's video project. She cornered me at the hotel earlier and spent 20 minutes showing me clips of Derek's childhood. Very sweet, of course, but... Carol paused. Honey, you were barely in any of them. And when I mentioned that seemed odd, your mother got quite defensive. My heart started racing. What exactly did she say? She claimed you were always camera shy and preferred to stay behind the scenes. But that didn't match what Derek had told us about you being the family photographer. Sarah said you brought beautiful prints to their engagement party. I gripped the phone tighter. Someone had finally noticed the inconsistency. What did those videos show? Mostly Derek at various ages, birthdays, sports events, holidays. Your mother kept emphasizing how naturally gifted and photogenic he was. But Stephanie, I raised 3 kids. I know what normal family videos look like, and these seemed. She struggled for the right word. Curated. Mom's always been particular about documentation, I said carefully, not ready to reveal everything to someone I barely knew. There's something else. When I mentioned you seemed lovely at the engagement party, your mother's whole demeanor changed. She said, and I'm quoting directly, well, Stephanie's always struggled with feeling relevant in family settings. These videos just reflect the natural dynamics. The casual cruelty of it hit me like a physical blow. Mom wasn't just erasing me from the past, she was actively poisoning my reputation in the present. Carol, I appreciate you calling, but... Wait, there's more. After she left, I called my sister who's a family therapist. She said what your mother described sounded like scapegoating behavior. That's when one child gets systematically minimized to elevate another. Carol's voice grew gentler. Honey, I want you to know that's not what we see when we look at you. I sat down hard on my bed. Thank you for saying that. Will you be at dinner tonight? Your mother mentioned another video presentation. I'll definitely be there. And Carol? You might want to pay close attention to how those videos are put together. After hanging up, I realized Mom had made a critical error. She'd gotten overconfident, showing her edited footage to someone with no emotional investment in our family narrative. Carol had noticed what we'd all been conditioned to accept. I wondered how many other people had quietly questioned the videos over the years but stayed silent out of politeness. At 6:45 p.m., I sat in my car outside Benedetto's watching family members arrive. Grandma Jean and Grandpa Bill shuffling in with matching cardigan sweaters. Uncle Tom helping Aunt Linda with her oversized purse. Derek and Sarah pulling up in his Tesla, both looking nervous but happy. Then Mom's rental car, a white sedan she was driving too fast into the parking space. Even from 50 feet away, I could see her checking her makeup in the rearview mirror, preparing for her performance. My laptop bag felt impossibly heavy as I walked toward the restaurant entrance. The restaurant's back room buzzed with pre-wedding excitement as I slipped through the door at exactly 7 o'clock. Mom had already commandeered the head of the long table, her laptop open and connected to the mounted screen. She'd even brought a small projector remote, like some kind of twisted wedding planner. Stephanie, she called out in that artificially bright tone she used in public. There's my camera-shy daughter. Come sit by Derek, sweetheart. Camera-shy. The same lie she told Carol just hours ago. I forced a smile and took the empty chair between Derek and Dad, noting that Mom had strategically seated herself where she could control both the presentation and the room's sight lines. Before we order, Mom announced, tapping her wine glass with a fork, I have a very special surprise. I put together a beautiful video journey showing Derek's path to finding love. Sarah squeezed Derek's hand while Grandma Jean clasped her hands together in delight. Oh, Linda, how thoughtful. You always were the family's memory keeper. Memory keeper. If only they knew how selectively those memories had been kept. Mom dimmed the lights with a wall switch and clicked her remote. The screen filled with a title card reading Derek's Journey, 25 Years of Love, set to soft piano music. I felt Dad tense beside me as the first clip began, Derek's 3rd birthday party, the edited version where my excited chatter about helping plan the treasure hunt had been completely removed. Look how naturally he performed for the camera, Mom narrated as 3-year-old Derek mugged adorably while opening presents. Even as a toddler, Derek had this magnetic personality. The video continued chronologically through Derek's childhood achievements. Soccer goals, birthday parties, Christmas mornings, family vacations, all the edited versions I'd discovered yesterday, now repackaged as a romantic tribute to his journey toward love. Mom had even added new voiceovers, her syrupy commentary painting Derek as a born leader and natural entertainer. Here's Derek at 15, already showing the confidence and charisma that would later sweep Sarah off her feet, Mom cooed as footage played of Derek's high school graduation party. In the background, barely visible, 16-year-old me carried dirty plates to the kitchen like hired help. Sarah's parents exchanged glances. Carol caught my eye and raised an eyebrow slightly, she was clearly noticing the same imbalances that had bothered her earlier. Linda, Grandpa Bill interrupted gently, this is lovely, but where's Stephanie in all these family moments? Seems like Derek was an only child. The room went quiet except for the video's piano soundtrack. Mom's smile flickered for just a moment before returning full force. Oh, Stephanie was always more comfortable behind the camera than in front of it, she said smoothly. These clips just naturally focused on Derek because he was so responsive to filming. Responsive to filming. Another way of saying I'd been systematically edited out. Derek frowned slightly, studying the screen. Mom, I remember Stephanie being more involved in things than this shows. Didn't she organize most of these parties? Memory can be tricky, honey, Mom replied, her voice taking on a subtle edge. The videos don't lie. That was my cue. I stood up slowly, my laptop bag in hand. Actually, Mom, you're absolutely right. The videos don't lie. I walked to the front of the room, my heart hammering but my voice steady. Mind if I share some additional family memories? I found some interesting footage on your old hard drive. Mom's face went pale. Stephanie, what are you? Just adding to the family memory sharing, I said, unplugging her laptop and connecting mine to the projector. I think everyone would love to see the complete picture of Derek's journey. The room buzzed with confused murmurs as I opened my presentation. 14 faces looked up at me expectantly, having no idea their understanding of our family was about to shatter completely. Let's start with Christmas 2003, I said, clicking to my first slide. Here are 2 versions of the same morning. The screen split in half, showing both versions of Christmas morning 2003 side by side. On the left, Mom's edited version where I appeared for exactly 12 seconds picking up wrapping paper. On the right, the original footage of me opening my camera with Mom's enthusiastic encouragement. The room fell completely silent except for the two audio tracks playing simultaneously, Mom's voice praising Derek in the edited version while simultaneously praising me in the original. The effect was haunting, like hearing her speak with a forked tongue. What the hell is this? Uncle Tom muttered, leaning forward in his chair. This is the original footage from Mom's hard drive, I said, pausing both videos. Notice the timestamps. Same day, same event, but one version has 4 minutes of content completely removed. Aunt Linda squinted at the screen. Linda, why are there two different versions? Mom stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Stephanie, this is completely inappropriate. It's Derek's rehearsal dinner, not the time for your... My what? I interrupted, clicking to the next slide. My desperate need for attention? My camera-shy personality? Let's explore that, shall we? The next comparison showed Derek's soccer championship. In Mom's edited version, I was invisible. In the original, I spent 3 minutes showing off my photography skills while Mom praised my talent. Grandma Jean gasped audibly. But Linda, you always said Stephanie wasn't interested in sports or family activities. I was 13, I said, pointing to the screen. And apparently good enough at photography that Mom spent almost 4 minutes filming me. Until she decided to edit it out 5 years later. Derek's face had gone completely white. Mom, what is this? Why would you edit Stephanie out? Mom's carefully composed mask was cracking. Derek, honey, you don't understand. Sometimes when you're preserving family memories, you have to make editorial choices. Editorial choices? Dad's voice was deadly quiet. He stood up and moved to stand beside me. Show them the spreadsheet, Stephanie. I clicked to Mom's Excel document, zooming in on specific rows. The restaurant's silence was broken only by the soft clinks of abandoned silverware as people read the brutal efficiency of my erasure. Seeing justification notes, I read aloud. Stephanie's performance was too long and boring. Derek appears more natural on camera. Focus should be on Derek's social development. Sarah's father, a lawyer I'd met twice, leaned back in his chair with obvious disgust. This is systematic. Like corporate restructuring, but with a child. It gets worse, Dad said grimly. Show them the custody folder. Dad, what custody folder? Derek's voice was strained. I opened the video Mom had presented as evidence during the divorce, the one showing Dad checking his phone during my piano recital. Except now I played the original version where Dad was beaming in the front row, applauding enthusiastically after my Chopin piece. Your mother used these edited videos to convince Judge Morrison that I was an absent father, Dad explained to Derek. I've been paying your full Berkeley tuition because I thought I'd failed you. $62,000 a year, Derek. I took out a second mortgage on the house I can barely afford. The number hit Derek like a physical blow. What? Dad, I thought you wanted to pay for college. You said it was important to you. I thought I owed it to you after being such a terrible father, Dad said quietly. These videos convinced me I neglected you your entire childhood. Grandpa Bill's voice shook with rage. Linda, you manipulated divorce proceedings with falsified evidence? Mom's composure finally shattered completely. You don't understand the pressure I was under. The lawyer said I needed documentation of family dynamics. I was just highlighting the most relevant moments. Relevant to what? Carol asked coldly. Making one child disappear? I never made her disappear. Mom snapped, her public mask gone entirely. Stephanie was always difficult to film. She was awkward, she didn't perform well, she was 11 years old. Derek exploded, standing so abruptly his chair toppled backward. Jesus Christ, Mom, she was a kid. How do you perform being a kid wrong? I clicked to the final slide, a side-by-side of my 16th birthday. In Mom's version, titled Family Dinner 2008, I was background help serving cake. In the original, I was blowing out candles while everyone sang, laughing as Derek made bunny ears behind my head. This was my sweet 16, I said, my voice finally starting to crack. I thought I was forgettable. I spent years believing I was just less important than Derek. I even felt grateful for those 12 seconds of background time because at least I existed somewhere in our family history. Derek walked over and pulled the laptop toward him, scrolling through the comparison slides. How many videos are there? 43, I said. Spanning 15 years. She edited every single one. 15 years, Sarah repeated slowly. That's Stephanie's entire childhood. The room erupted in overlapping voices, Grandma Jean crying, Uncle Tom demanding explanations, Carol's whispered conversation with her husband. Through it all, Mom stood frozen at the head of the table, her carefully constructed presentation abandoned. Derek closed my laptop and looked directly at Mom. We're done here. Derek, honey, please let me explain. Explain what? That you erased my sister from existence? That you lied to judges? That Dad's been bankrupting himself over your fake evidence? Derek's voice was shaking. The wedding's off until I figure out what else you've lied about. Derek, no. Mom reached for him desperately. You can't cancel your wedding over this misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Derek laughed bitterly. Mom, you edited spreadsheets. You have audio files labeled Derek Praise Replacement. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was psychological warfare. The silence that followed Derek's words was deafening. Mom stood there, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air, while 14 pairs of eyes stared at her with varying degrees of horror and disgust. Then Grandma Jean spoke, her voice trembling with barely contained fury. Linda Marie Patterson, I have never been so ashamed of anyone in my entire life. Mom, please, Mom tried, but Grandma Jean held up a shaking hand. Don't you, Mom, please me. I praised Derek for being photogenic at Christmas last year. I told my bridge club that some children are just born stars while others are meant to be in the background. Grandma Jean's voice broke. I said that about my own granddaughter because of your lies. Uncle Tom was frantically scrolling through something on his phone. Jesus, Linda. I shared that soccer video on Facebook 2 months ago. Commented about how Derek was always the family athlete. He looked up at me with stricken eyes. Stephanie, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. None of us did, Aunt Linda said quietly. That's the point. Sarah's mother Carol stood up abruptly. I need to call my sister. The therapist I mentioned earlier. She looked directly at Mom. She's going to want to document this for her research on family scapegoating. This level of systematic erasure, it's textbook psychological abuse. Don't you dare pathologize this. Mom finally found her voice, but it was shrill and desperate. I was protecting Derek's memories. Stephanie was always jealous of him, always trying to steal his spotlight. She was taking pictures. Derek shouted. She was literally supporting my achievements by documenting them, and you turned that into stealing spotlight? Dad pulled out his phone and started typing rapidly. I'm calling my divorce attorney. Judge Morrison needs to know about the falsified evidence immediately. Dad, wait, Derek said, running his hands through his hair. What does this mean for the settlement? Can you get the money back? Derek, I don't care about the money, Dad said, though his voice suggested otherwise. But if your mother committed fraud in family court, there could be criminal charges. Mom went completely white. Criminal charges? Richard, you can't be serious. It's just family videos. It's evidence tampering, Sarah's father interrupted. His lawyer instincts had clearly kicked in. You knowingly presented falsified documentation to influence a legal proceeding. That's fraud, potentially perjury depending on what statements you made under oath. I watched Mom's face cycle through emotions, panic, rage, calculation. Then something shifted in her expression, and I recognized the look. She was going into full narcissistic meltdown mode, where she'd burn everything down rather than accept responsibility. You want to know the truth? Mom's voice turned venomous. Fine. Stephanie was a difficult child. Needy, attention-seeking, constantly making everything about herself. Derek was easy, pleasant, grateful for what he got. When I was putting together those videos, I realized they told the real story of our family dynamics. Stephanie fading into the background wasn't editing, it was honesty. The room went dead silent. Even the restaurant noise from the main dining room seemed to pause. So you're admitting you deliberately erased her, Carol said slowly. I'm admitting I showed the truth of who mattered in our family, Mom snapped. Derek has always been special. Stephanie has always been ordinary. The videos just reflected reality. Derek stood up so fast his water glass toppled, sending ice cubes scattering across the table. Get out. Derek, honey. Get out of my rehearsal dinner. Get out of my wedding. Get out of my life. His voice was deadly calm. Sarah, call the hotel. Have them remove Linda Patterson from the wedding guest list. Derek, you can't mean this, Mom pleaded. I'm your mother. I love you more than anything. You don't love me, Derek said quietly. You love the version of me that you created by destroying Stephanie. That's not love. That's ownership. Mom turned to me desperately. Stephanie, tell him this is all a misunderstanding. You know I love you. You know I never meant to hurt you. I looked at her for a long moment, thinking about 11-year-old me shrieking with joy over that camera, about 16-year-old me blowing out birthday candles, about all the moments of genuine love she'd methodically erased to construct her preferred narrative. The only misunderstanding, I said quietly, is that I ever thought I was the problem. Mom's face crumpled at my words, and for a split second I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then she did what she always did when cornered, she went nuclear. You ungrateful little bitch, she hissed, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more venom than shouting. I gave you everything. I bought you that camera, I encouraged your little hobbies, I put up with your constant need for validation. And this is how you repay me? By destroying your brother's wedding with your pathetic victim complex? The slap of her words hit harder than any physical blow could have. Even now, faced with undeniable evidence of her systematic abuse, she was making it my fault. Derek stepped between us, his face flushed with rage. Don't you dare talk to her like that. Not ever again. I'll talk to my daughter however I want, Mom snapped. She's been poisoning you against me for years, Derek. Can't you see what she's doing? She waited until your wedding weekend specifically to cause maximum damage. This whole presentation is just her desperate attempt to steal your spotlight. Grandma Jean stood up slowly, her arthritis making the movement painful, but her voice was steel. Linda, stop talking. Right now. Mom, you don't understand what Stephanie's really like. I said stop. Grandma Jean's voice carried the authority of someone who'd raised 6 children and buried 2 husbands. I've watched you manipulate situations for 35 years, but this. She gestured toward my laptop. This is evil, Linda. Pure evil. Uncle Tom was still scrolling through his phone, his face growing paler by the minute. Christ, Linda. I've been sharing your videos for 3 years. Posted them to Facebook, sent them to cousins in Michigan. Everyone thinks Derek was basically an only child who occasionally had a babysitter. The weight of it hit me like a truck. It wasn't just our immediate family who'd seen the edited versions. Mom had distributed them far enough that extended relatives across the country had absorbed her false narrative. Cousins I barely saw at reunions probably thought I was some family friend who helped out occasionally. How many people have you shared these with? I asked quietly. Derek's videos? Uncle Tom was scrolling rapidly. Maybe 40 people over the years? I mean, they were so good, and Derek always looked so happy and talented. He stopped abruptly, realizing what he'd said. 40 people, I repeated. My erasure had gone viral within our extended family. Facebook, email, what else? Aunt Linda raised her hand tentatively, like a guilty student. I showed them to my book club last Christmas. And I think I sent the graduation video to your dad's sister in Portland. Dad closed his eyes. Janet's seen these? She said Derek seemed like such a natural performer, Aunt Linda whispered. Asked why Stephanie never appeared in family videos. I told her you were camera shy. Camera shy. The lie had spread so far that even Dad's side of the family believed it. I wondered how many conversations had happened without me, relatives discussing Derek's obvious talent while quietly noting my apparent absence from family life. Sarah's phone buzzed with a text, and she glanced at it with a frown. It's my maid of honor. She's asking if tomorrow's still happening. Apparently someone from the hotel called her room asking about catering headcount changes. Derek looked at Mom with disgust. What did you do? When you said the wedding was off, I panicked. I called the hotel to see if there was a way to salvage tomorrow. You called the hotel before talking to me? Derek's voice was dangerously quiet. What exactly did you tell them? Mom's silence was answer enough. Sarah's phone rang, and she answered with dread. Hello, Mr. Peterson? Yes, this is Sarah Chan, the bride. The conversation was clearly audible in the silent room. The hotel manager's voice was concerned but professional. Ms. Chen, we received a call from Linda Patterson claiming to be handling wedding coordination due to a family emergency. She requested we cancel the reception dinner service and reduce room reservations by 15 guests. I wanted to confirm these changes with you directly. Sarah's face went white. No, absolutely do not make any changes. Linda Patterson has no authority over our wedding arrangements. I understand. We'll disregard her requests entirely. However, I should mention she was quite insistent and became hostile when we requested written confirmation. She claimed there had been a serious family situation that would prevent most guests from attending. Derek grabbed the phone. This is Derek Patterson, the groom. What exactly did my mother tell you? Mr. Patterson, she indicated there had been some kind of family scandal that would likely result in significant guest cancellations. She was particularly concerned about elderly relatives not wanting to attend due to inappropriate revelations during tonight's dinner. Even in her meltdown, Mom was trying to control the narrative, painting my revelation as inappropriate rather than acknowledging her systematic abuse. She was already working on damage control, positioning herself as a victim of my unstable behavior. Dad stood up abruptly. Derek, give me that phone. Mr. Peterson, this is Richard Patterson, Derek's father, Dad said, taking the phone from Derek. I need you to understand something. Linda Patterson is not authorized to make any changes to this wedding, and if she contacts you again, you need to call hotel security. Of course, sir. Should we be concerned about any disruptions tomorrow? Dad looked around the room at our shell-shocked family members, then at Mom who was frantically texting someone. Potentially, yes. Linda Patterson may attempt to interfere with the event. I'd recommend flagging her name in your system. Absolutely. We'll make sure all staff are aware. Is there anything else we can do to ensure tomorrow goes smoothly? Derek took the phone back. Actually, yes. Can you tell me exactly what my mother said about guest cancellations? I need to know how much damage control I'm dealing with. The manager's voice became carefully diplomatic. She mentioned that several elderly family members would likely not attend due to. I believe her exact phrase was disturbing behavior from the bride's family. She also suggested that the rehearsal dinner had ended in a serious confrontation that would affect tomorrow's attendance. I felt my stomach drop. She's already spinning this, making it sound like we attacked her unprovoked. Sarah grabbed her phone and started scrolling frantically. Oh God, she's probably texting the relatives who couldn't make it tonight. Aunt Margaret, Cousin Jennifer, your dad's brother in Seattle. Sure enough, Derek's phone started buzzing with concerned messages. His face grew paler with each notification. Uncle Mike wants to know if there's been a family emergency. Cousin Brad is asking if he should still drive down from Sacramento tomorrow. What are these texts saying exactly? Dad demanded. Derek read from his screen, his voice hollow, from Mom to Uncle Mike, terrible situation at rehearsal dinner. Stephanie had emotional breakdown and made horrible accusations. Family very upset. Not sure wedding should proceed. We'll call later. Emotional breakdown, I repeated bitterly. She's making me sound unstable. Aunt Linda was checking her own phone. She texted me too, 20 minutes ago. Says she'd been struggling with mental health issues and that tonight was a cry for help that got out of hand. The systematic character assassination was happening in real time. Within an hour, Mom would have contacted every relative she could reach, painting me as mentally unstable and positioning herself as a concerned mother dealing with her troubled daughter's wedding sabotage. Carol stood up abruptly. I'm calling my sister right now. The family therapist. She needs to hear about this immediate gaslighting campaign while it's happening. Good idea, Dad said grimly. Derek, who else might she contact tonight? Derek was scrolling through his phone with growing panic. Everyone. She has contact info for basically our entire extended family. Dad's side, her side, family friends going back 20 years. He looked up with stricken eyes. She's probably calling Grandpa Joe right now, telling him I'm marrying into a crazy family. Sarah's phone rang, her sister calling from her hotel room across town. Sarah answered with dread. Hey Emma, what's wrong? Sarah, what the hell is happening? Some woman named Linda just called the hotel asking for my room number. When I wouldn't give it to her, she told the front desk there was a psychiatric emergency involving the wedding party and that she needed to speak with all out-of-town guests immediately. The room went dead silent except for Emma's voice on speakerphone. She called your hotel? Derek's voice was barely controlled. Sarah, how did she even know where your sister was staying? Wedding planning emails, Sarah said weakly. I CC'd her on all the guest coordination stuff months ago. She has everyone's hotel information, flight details, contact numbers. The scope of Mom's potential damage became clear. She had comprehensive access to our wedding logistics and was already weaponizing that information to spread her version of tonight's events. By morning, she could have contacted every single wedding guest with her carefully crafted story about my mental breakdown and inappropriate accusations. Dad pulled out his own phone. I'm calling Judge Morrison's emergency line. This level of harassment and potential witness tampering needs to be documented immediately. The next 2 hours blurred into a nightmare of damage control. Dad spent 40 minutes on the phone with Judge Morrison's emergency line, documenting Mom's harassment campaign while Derek and Sarah called every out-of-town guest to counter her narrative. I sat numbly at the restaurant table, watching our family implode in real time through a series of increasingly frantic text messages. Cousin Jennifer wants to know if she should bring crisis intervention materials to the wedding, Derek read from his phone, his voice hollow. Mom told her I might need family support during Stephanie's episode. Sarah looked up from her own phone with barely contained rage. My college roommate just texted asking if I'm safe staying in the same hotel as your unstable sister-in-law. Apparently your mother called her parents in Phoenix claiming there was a dangerous situation developing. Uncle Tom was frantically scrolling through Facebook. She's posting cryptic status updates. Pray for families dealing with mental health crises. Sometimes love means accepting difficult truths about our children. Posted 12 minutes ago with 43 concerned comments already. The systematic character assassination was happening faster than we could counter it. Mom had turned her decades of relationship building into a weapon, using every connection to spread her version before anyone could hear mine. She was positioning herself as a long-suffering mother dealing with her disturbed daughter's wedding sabotage. Carol returned from her phone call with her therapist's sister, her face grim. Dr. Martinez wants to document this in real time. She says this level of immediate gaslighting and social manipulation after being exposed is textbook narcissistic rage. She's never seen it happen so systematically with such wide reach. Wide reach is right, Aunt Linda said, checking her messages. She just texted asking if I think you need professional help and whether Derek should postpone major life decisions until Stephanie gets treatment. Derek slammed his phone down so hard the water glasses jumped. She's trying to get people to talk me out of my own wedding. Making it sound like marrying Sarah would be a mistake because my sister is mentally unstable. Dad finished his call and rejoined us, his face grave. Judge Morrison is concerned but limited in what she can do tonight. However, she's flagging Mom's contact attempts as potential witness intimidation since some of these people might be called to testify about the original divorce proceedings. What does that mean practically? I asked. If Mom continues contacting people involved in our case, it becomes criminal harassment. But the wedding guests who weren't part of the divorce? Dad shrugged helplessly. That's harder to stop legally. Sarah's phone rang again, this time her maid of honor calling in a panic. Jen, slow down, Sarah said, putting the call on speaker. What exactly did she tell you? Sarah, this woman called my room claiming to be Derek's mother. She said there was a family crisis and that Stephanie had fabricated evidence of abuse to destroy the wedding. She kept saying Stephanie has borderline personality disorder and a history of false accusations against family members. My blood went cold. Borderline personality disorder? She's literally diagnosing me now? Jen's voice continued through the phone. She was really convincing, Sarah. Said she was worried about Derek marrying into a family with unaddressed mental health issues and that tonight proved Stephanie would always create chaos at important moments. She asked if I'd noticed any red flags about Stephanie's behavior during wedding planning. Derek looked like he might throw up. Did you tell her anything? I hung up when she started asking about Stephanie's patterns of manipulation, Jen said. But Sarah, she sounded so concerned and motherly. If I didn't know better, I would have believed her completely. That was the most terrifying part. Mom's performance was flawless, the worried mother dealing with her troubled daughter's destructive episode. She'd probably convinced half the people she'd contacted that I was genuinely unstable and that my evidence was fabricated during some kind of mental health crisis. Grandma Jean, who'd been quietly listening to everything, finally spoke up. How many people has she called tonight? Derek checked his notifications. Based on the messages I'm getting? At least 15 so far. And she's just getting started. No, Grandma Jean said firmly, standing up with her cane. She's done. Right now. She pulled out her ancient flip phone and dialed with shaking but determined fingers. Mom, who are you calling? Dad asked. My daughter, Grandma Jean replied. And I'm calling her exactly what she is. The phone rang twice before Mom's voice answered, sickeningly sweet. Hi, Mama. I was just about to call you. There's been a terrible situation with Stephanie tonight. Linda Marie Patterson, Grandma Jean interrupted, her voice carrying the authority of 8 decades. You stop making phone calls right now, or I will personally drive to your hotel and take that phone away from you like you're 12 years old again. The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. Mama, you don't understand what happened tonight. I understand perfectly. I watched those videos side by side. I saw your spreadsheet. I heard you call your daughter a bitch in front of the entire family. Grandma Jean's voice never rose, but it cut like a blade. What I don't understand is how I raised such a cruel, manipulative woman. The phone call with Grandma Jean ended Mom's harassment campaign, but the damage was already spreading like wildfire. By 10 p.m., Derek had received 23 concerned messages from relatives and family friends. Sarah's college roommate had called her parents in Phoenix asking if they should intervene in what sounded like a dangerous family situation. Most devastating was a text from Derek's best man, Marcus, who was flying in from Chicago tomorrow morning. Dude, your mom called my hotel saying there might not be a wedding due to family mental health crisis. Should I still come? She sounded really worried about everyone's safety. Derek stared at his phone in disbelief. She told Marcus we might be unsafe. He's probably booking a return flight right now thinking he's walking into some kind of violent situation. Sarah was frantically texting her own family and friends, trying to counter Mom's narrative before it spread further. My aunt in Portland just asked if I'm sure I want to marry into this level of family dysfunction. She's never even met you guys, but apparently your mother was very convincing about Stephanie being unstable. The character assassination was surgical in its precision. Mom hadn't made any specific accusations that could be easily disproven. Instead, she planted seeds of concern about my mental health and painted tonight's revelation as an episode rather than evidence of her systematic abuse. Dad hung up from another call with his attorney and turned to me with exhausted eyes. James is driving over to file an emergency restraining order petition. If we can prove a pattern of harassment and witness intimidation, we might be able to get her legally barred from contacting anyone connected to the divorce case or the wedding. How long does that take? I asked, though part of me wondered if it mattered. The damage to my reputation was already done. Emergency hearing could be as early as tomorrow afternoon, depending on the judge's availability, Dad replied. But Stephanie, you need to understand, some of these people are going to believe her version no matter what evidence we show them. She's had 35 years to build credibility as the concerned mother. Carol, who'd been quietly observing everything, walked over and sat beside me. Can I ask you something? During the divorce proceedings, did your mother ever suggest you needed therapy or treatment for behavioral issues? I thought back to 2019, trying to remember Mom's specific words during that awful year. Actually, yes. She kept telling the mediator that I was acting out due to the divorce stress and that she was concerned about my emotional stability. I thought she was just being protective. But you never actually had behavioral issues or mental health problems? Carol pressed gently. No more than any normal teenager dealing with her parents' divorce, I said. I mean, I was depressed about the family falling apart, but nothing clinical. Carol exchanged a meaningful look with her husband. She was laying groundwork. Even back then, she was establishing a narrative about your mental health that she could weaponize later if needed. The realization hit me like ice water. Mom's comments during the divorce weren't protective concern, they were strategic character assassination, building a paper trail she could reference tonight when she needed to discredit my evidence. Derek looked up from his phone with a mixture of rage and exhaustion. Okay, I've officially had enough. Sarah, call the hotel. We're moving our wedding breakfast to a private location and hiring security. If Mom shows up anywhere near our events tomorrow, I want her physically removed. Derek, are you sure? Sarah asked gently. Security at your own wedding feels necessary, Derek finished firmly. She's already tried to cancel our reception and spread rumors to our guests. I'm not giving her another chance to destroy the actual ceremony. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone buzzed with a call from Mom's number. Everyone in the room went silent, staring at the screen. After 4 rings, it went to voicemail. 10 seconds later, the notification chimed. With trembling fingers, I played the message on speaker. Mom's voice filled the restaurant's private dining room, and she sounded nothing like the woman who'd been calling our relatives with concern. This voice was cold, calculating, and absolutely furious. Stephanie, you self-centered little brat. You think you're so smart with your little slideshow, but all you've done is prove what I've always known, you're pathetically desperate for attention. Derek will forgive me because I'm his mother and he loves me. But he'll never forgive you for ruining his wedding weekend with your victim complex. Enjoy your 15 minutes of playing the wounded child, because when this is over, you'll still be exactly what you've always been, forgettable. The message ended with a sharp click. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Even the restaurant sounds from the main dining room seemed to pause, as if the entire world was holding its breath. Derek's face had gone completely white, then flushed red with rage. She just proved everything you said about her. On a recorded voicemail. Forward that to James immediately, Dad said, his voice shaking. That's harassment, intimidation, and probably admissible evidence of her mental state during the original divorce proceedings. But I barely heard them. Mom's words echoed in my head, you'll still be exactly what you've always been, forgettable. After everything, the evidence, the confrontation, the family's shock and support, she was still trying to convince me I didn't matter. The truly terrifying part was how close she'd come to succeeding. The voicemail changed everything. Within minutes, Dad had forwarded it to his attorney, Derek had saved it to 3 different cloud services, and Carol was already texting her therapist's sister about the mask-off moment we just witnessed. But as I sat in that restaurant listening to my family rally around me, my phone kept buzzing with new messages, and they weren't all supportive. Stephanie, this is from Cousin Michelle in Sacramento, I said, reading the text that had just come through. She says Mom called her crying, saying I've been building a case against her for months and that tonight was a planned attack designed to hurt Derek. She wants to know if I'm getting the help I need. Derek grabbed my phone and read the message himself, his face darkening. Michelle doesn't even know you. She's met you maybe 3 times in 20 years. That's exactly why Mom called her, Sarah said quietly. People who barely know Stephanie have no frame of reference to judge whether Mom's story sounds believable. My phone buzzed again, this time a Facebook message from someone I hadn't heard from in years. Oh God, it's Tommy Hendricks from high school. Mom somehow found him on social media. I read his message aloud. Hey Stephanie, your mom reached out because she's worried about you. She said you've been struggling lately and that you had some kind of breakdown at your brother's wedding. She asked if I'd noticed any concerning posts or behavior when we were younger. Hope you're okay. She's crowdsourcing evidence of your supposed mental illness, Carol said, her voice tight with anger. Reaching out to people from your past to see if anyone will validate her narrative. Derek was scrolling through his own Facebook messages. She contacted Jake Morrison, my freshman roommate at Berkeley. Asked if he ever witnessed concerning interactions between me and you during family visits. Jake hasn't spoken to either of us in 6 years. The scope of Mom's campaign was becoming clear. She wasn't just calling immediate family and wedding guests, she was methodically contacting anyone who'd ever known us, fishing for any comment that could be twisted into evidence of my instability or history of false accusations. Dad hung up from another call with his attorney and turned to us with grim news. James says the voicemail helps our restraining order case, but Mom's contact campaign is actually legal as long as she's not making specific threats. Calling relatives and old friends to express concern about your mental health falls under free speech. Even when she's lying? I asked. Proving she's lying requires proving intent to deceive, which is nearly impossible with mental health claims, Dad explained. She can say she genuinely believes you're unstable, and unless we can prove otherwise. My phone rang, Aunt Margaret calling from Portland. I'd been dreading this one. Aunt Margaret was Dad's sister, someone I'd always been close to, but she'd only heard Mom's side so far. Hi Aunt Margaret, I answered, putting it on speaker so everyone could hear. Stephanie, honey, I just got the most disturbing call from your mother. Aunt Margaret's voice was carefully controlled. She said there was some kind of incident at Derek's rehearsal dinner and that you'd made some very serious accusations. She seemed quite upset. I exchanged glances with Dad before responding. What exactly did she tell you? Well, she said you'd been struggling emotionally since the divorce and that tonight you'd presented some kind of evidence claiming she'd been abusive? She was crying, Stephanie. Said she was heartbroken that you would make up stories about your childhood to hurt Derek's wedding. The word stories hit like a punch. Even to sympathetic relatives, Mom was successfully framing my evidence as fabricated narratives from an unstable person. Aunt Margaret, did she mention the videos at all? The actual footage I found? She said you manipulated some old family videos to make it look like she'd edited them, but that the originals were, what did she call it? Digitally altered by someone with computer skills. She seemed to think you'd been planning this for months. My stomach dropped. Mom was already getting ahead of the evidence, claiming I'd fabricated the very proof of her manipulation. Anyone who hadn't seen both versions side by side would have no way to verify which story was true. Aunt Margaret, Dad interjected, this is Richard. I've seen the evidence Stephanie found. The metadata, the editing timestamps, Mom's own spreadsheet documenting what she removed. It's not fabricated. Oh, Richard. Linda said you'd probably support Stephanie's version because of the divorce settlement. She's worried that you're both, well, that you're enabling each other's anger toward her. Even Dad's credibility was being preemptively undermined. Mom had thought of everything. We hung up with Aunt Margaret after 30 more minutes of careful explanation, knowing we'd only partially convinced her. By midnight, the pattern was clear. Mom's version was spreading faster than our truth, and she had a 3-hour head start with people who barely knew me. But then Derek's phone rang with a call that changed everything. It's Marcus, Derek said, frowning at the screen. My best man. I thought Mom scared him off. Derek, dude, Marcus's voice came through the speaker, and he sounded pissed. I just got off the phone with your mother, and I need to tell you something. My heart sank. Another person convinced I was unstable. She called me back 20 minutes ago, really insistent about this whole thing. Kept pushing for details about any concerning behavior I'd witnessed from Stephanie over the years. And bro. Marcus paused. The questions got really specific. Too specific. Derek sat up straighter. What do you mean? She asked if I'd ever seen Stephanie fabricate stories for attention or manipulate family photos. Those aren't normal worried mom questions, Derek. Those are lawyer questions. Like she was coaching me towards specific answers. Derek and I exchanged glances. Marcus had just identified the flaw in Mom's strategy. Then she made a mistake, Marcus continued. She said she was heartbroken that Stephanie edited those family videos to frame her. But Derek, I was there for your 21st birthday. I helped Stephanie take pictures that entire weekend. I watched your mom film us constantly and get excited about Stephanie's photography. If those videos show Stephanie being ignored, dude, that's not what happened. The room went completely silent. Marcus, what exactly do you remember from that weekend? Derek asked carefully. Your mom was obsessed with Stephanie's camera skills. She kept asking her to take family portraits and bragging about her artistic eye. She filmed Stephanie explaining aperture settings for like 10 minutes. If that's been edited out of your family videos. Derek, that's seriously messed up. Derek closed his eyes. Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. In all the family videos Mom has shared over the years, how much do you actually see Stephanie? Long pause. Now that you mention it? Almost never. Which never made sense because I remember her being super involved in your family stuff. She organized your graduation party, she took all the photos at your parents' anniversary dinner, but in your mom's videos, it was like she wasn't even there. We had our first independent witness, someone with no stake in our family drama who could testify that Mom's edited videos didn't match their actual memories. Marcus, would you be willing to talk to our attorney about what you remember? Absolutely. Derek, if your mom has been erasing Stephanie from your family history, that's not grief or stress. That's something much worse. After hanging up, Derek immediately started calling other friends and family members who'd been present during the events in Mom's videos. Within 2 hours, we had 6 people willing to testify that their memories contradicted the edited versions Mom had been sharing. My college roommate Katie remembered Mom filming my 22nd birthday dinner extensively, but the video Mom shared only showed Derek talking about his internship. Derek's high school girlfriend recalled Mom praising my photography at his graduation, but that entire segment was missing from the official family version. Most damning was Sarah's observation about our engagement party last year. Your mom filmed Stephanie's toast for over 5 minutes. She kept saying how proud she was of the relationship you two had built. But when she sent me the video afterward to post on Instagram, Stephanie's toast was completely gone. By 3 a.m., we had documented testimony from 8 people whose memories contradicted Mom's edited narrative. Her systematic erasure of me hadn't just been invisible to our immediate family, it had created a disconnect between reality and documentation that outside witnesses could identify. Dad called Judge Morrison's emergency line again at 6 a.m. with our new evidence. By 10 a.m., we had a restraining order preventing Mom from contacting anyone connected to the original divorce case. By 11 a.m., the judge had agreed to reopen the divorce settlement based on fraudulent evidence. Derek's wedding proceeded as planned, but with courthouse security present and Mom's hotel keycards deactivated. The marriage lasted. Mom's lies didn't. 3 months later, Dad received $186,000 in restitution for the fraudulent tuition payments. Derek transferred to a state school and used the remaining money to start the college fund he'd never had. As for me, I finally got my childhood back, 47 gigabytes of proof that I had always mattered, even when someone tried to edit me out of existence. The truth, it turned out, was harder to delete than Mom had planned.